Hi guys, I'm Adam, and today I'll be going over the CUEGIS concept. The first CUEGIS concept, which is change. Change refers to a driving force and restraining force that create change in a business so that they can move forward and remain competitive. Notice that it is talking about a positive aspect of change. However, in real life, we can actually have negative effect of change as well, and we can also talk about the negative effects as well. So to break down the concept of change, we actually can draw a chart listing the external factors, internal factors, driving force, and restraining force. So let's first look at the first quadrant over here, which is external factors serving as driving force for the company. So let's first look at the first example I provided here is reduction in financial regulation leading to more borrowing flexibility. What do I mean by that? Okay. So reduction in financial regulation is basically the government actually reducing the requirements for licensing, for banking services. So that will mean that more banks will be open in a short period of time. That means more supply of money to companies. So the companies that which probably need a lot of investment can actually have more borrowing flexibility, meaning that it can borrow from different sources, probably at a lower rate because there are more suppliers' money in that case. So that would have an effect. Probably can help the business to expand in different markets to facilitate market development. So in that case, because the business, if that's the case, the business is expanding globally, that would be a linkage to another CUEGIS concept, which is globalization. So here is a connection of change affecting globalization, which is usually framed in the question as one concept affecting another concept. So let's moving on to our second quadrant, which is internal factors serving as driving forces for the company. So let's say the company actually hired a new CEO, and that CEO really focus on innovation. So probably it will help the company to foster a more innovative corporate culture, meaning that everyone is working really hard to innovate new products. There's huge investment in research and development and product development, etc. So there will be a nice connection to both the CUEGIS concept of innovation and culture. So these two concepts, it would be a nice connection here as well. So let's look at this third little section over here, which is external factors actually affecting, serving as restraining forces for the company, meaning it's bad for the company. So here, I have two little examples over here. For instance, like inflation soaring in the domestic market or in the international markets will both have a negative effect on the business, because more inflation means if it's soaring all the time. I'm not saying a stable a 2% inflation. I'm talking about for instance a 10% or 6% inflation rate in the domestic market. That will mean the domestic market will be not as stable as it should be. So that will affect investors' perception of the business environment as well, because the business environment is very unstable and there are a lot of risk involved. So the investors might not be willing to invest anymore. And another will be the wage rate increasing. Okay, so that is a widespread phenomenon. If the business is very labor intensive, meaning that it actually utilize a lot of workers in its production process, then probably the business will be negatively affected. So they will actually force the business to fire workers to shift to machinery is probably more than before. But that will also involve an ethical issue, which is a great connection with ethics, because firing workers has a sort of ethical issue to that. So you are actually not considering that the impact that will have on the workers. So there's another nice connection to ethics here as well. And finally, in the final quadrant, we can see that we are talking about internal factors that will be a restraining force for the business. So a nice example here will be the finance department of the business. let's say that the company has paid a lot of dividends in the past year, and also that it just doesn't actually retain enough profit for investment in the next year. So if the company actually has a huge reduction in retained profits, that will mean that actually it doesn't have much money to invest in product development, or it will affect sales as well, because you don't have a new product which the customers are less likely to purchase your product, which will affect your sales as well. So there's a huge like a chain reaction to that. So here will be more linked with innovation, because it's also product development, and also it will affect strategy as well. So basically, the firm might reorient its strategy. If its previous strategy is to innovate constantly, and now it has to change that to a more less innovative type of strategy. And also maybe the marketing strategy will be changed as well, because the company doesn't have enough marketing budget to throw like a huge marketing campaign. So the marketing strategy will be constrained as well. So finally, I would like to talk about that we can actually easily tweak these boxes into different quadrants. What do I mean by that is that a driving forces, when we interpret in another way, can actually be a restraining force. So for instance, a reduction in financial regulation could also mean that there's more competition, because all firms are actually borrowing from the banks, meaning that there are huge investment happening, a lot of product development, which could mean more competition for the firm to deal with. If that is the more dominant force, then there will be a restraining force for the company. So it really depends on how your company is doing, and you probably need to do a lot of research on what exactly is your firm doing, and what's the external environment, and how has the external environment actually impacted the company. So that's basically the concept of change, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Please hit subscribe so that you can receive updates on my new analysis on different concepts, both business and econ. So thank you guys. See you next time.